Now Sarai, Abraham's wife, had borne him no children, and she had an Egyptian maidservant whose name was Hagar. So Sarai said to Abraham, See now, Yahweh has restrained me from bearing children. Please go into my maid, perhaps I shall obtain children by her. And Abraham heeded the voice of Sarai. Then Sarai, Abraham's wife, took Hagar her maid, the Egyptian, and gave her to her husband, Abraham, to be his wife, after Abraham had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan. Genesis chapter 16, verses 1 through 3, exegesis. Notice how Abraham heeded the voice of Sarai, his wife, just like Adam heeded the voice of his wife Eve, just like the world will heed the voice of the woman of Revelation chapter 17, who feeds the words, the deception. Sarai doubts the promise, a human solution by divine prophecy. Sarai assumes the delay means that Yahweh's promise will not come to pass. Instead of waiting for the miraculous intervention of Yahweh and relying on his promise and his covenant, she tries to produce prophecy by her own strength, by human strength, by giving her maidservant to Abraham. This mirrors a major end-time danger, humanity attempting to force spiritual fulfillment in the flesh. Abraham heeded the wrong voice. Genesis chapter 16, verse 2. Abraham heeded the voice of Sarai instead of heeding the voice of Yahweh. This repeats Eden. Genesis chapter 3, verse 17. Because you have heeded the voice of your wife, Yahweh Elohim tells Adam, cursed is the ground for your sake. So this is a repetitious cycle that continues throughout Scripture. It's a divine pattern. When the chosen man listens to human reasoning over Yahweh's command, the result is spiritual bondage, which is what Yeshua's message was. Choose the commandments of Yahweh Elohim over the traditions of man and get out of spiritual bondage. And bondage is exactly what this passage introduces. Prophetic parallel, two women and two systems. Just like Genesis chapter 16 shows two women, Sarai and Hagar, and just like Genesis chapter 2 and 3 shows two trees, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Revelation shows two women representing two spiritual systems. The woman in Revelation chapter 12, which has 12 stars, which is symbolic for the 12 tribes of Israel, the King David, and the Messiah, Yeshua HaMashiach, and the woman of Revelation chapter 17, the prostitute which sits on the beast, symbolic for the Roman church system power and the United States of America political power, church and state coming together. Revelation chapter 12 verse 1 says, Now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a garland of 12 stars. This woman is purity, covenant faithfulness, the remnant, those who wait on Yahweh's promise. From her births Yeshua, and later represents the 144,000, the remnant, the loipos. Then you have the woman of the flesh, woman, Revelation in 17. Revelation 17 verses 4 through 5, which says, The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adored with gold and precious stones and pearls, and on her forehead a name was written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and of the abominations of the earth. Notice the same symbolism and the same language is in Daniel chapter 7, with this pompous horn which arises from this beast, speaking pompous words against the Most High, which intends to change times and laws. This same system which changed the times and the laws of Yahweh Elohim, once again establishing the traditions of man over Yahweh Elohim's commandments. This woman, which is the lust of the flesh, the woman of Revelation chapter 17, is equal to mixture, like the toes of Daniel, mixture of iron and clay. Iron and clay does not mix. Human tradition, spiritual adultery, human solutions to spiritual problems. She mirrors Hagar, the flesh-born system. So just like in the story, you have Hagar, the Egyptian, the woman of flesh, righteousness by works, and then you have Sarai, the woman of promise, from which the chosen heir would come. Abraham choosing Hagar equals humanity choosing Babylon. Abraham's failure to wait for Yahweh's promise equals Christians choosing man-made religion over divine truth. Therefore, Sarai equals Revelation 12, the woman of promise. Hagar equals Revelation 17, the woman of flesh. Ishmael equals works of the flesh. Isaac equals works of the Spirit, the remnant of promise who wait for Yeshua. This story becomes an early warning. Do not try to fulfill Elohim's prophecy through human strength. through human reasoning, through the righteousness of humans, because humans can produce no righteousness. The remnant must wait for Yeshua, not manufacture their own solutions. Egypt is symbolic for human religion. Hagar is Egyptian, and Egypt represents spiritual bondage. Remember what Pharaoh said, "Who is your God, Yahweh Elohim? I will not let your people go, nor will I serve your God." Revelation chapter 11 verse 8 elaborates, the great city which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt. Notice it said spiritually is called, because this is a spiritual representation, meaning that it has its doctrines, its ideologies, and its teachings in it. And it also teaches it to the world. By taking Hagar, Abraham brings Egypt into the covenant household, symbolizing the danger of mixing truth with human tradition, was exactly what the toes of Daniel would be mixed with, iron and clay. Clay symbolic for the church, iron symbolic for the Roman system power, and that they do not mix. Church and state do not mix, but that will not stop from humans from trying to mix it. Ellen White perfectly tries this to remnant test of patience. A delay is permitted to test faith and reveal whether the soul is true and loyal to Yahweh Elohim. Sarai becomes discouraged and felt that the Lord did not mean to fulfill his word. Patriarchs and Prophets, page 145. And on the symbolic two women, in Revelation, the woman represents the true church, but the apostate woman represents those who have departed from the faith. Abraham failed to wait, but Elohim did not fail him. Even when the flesh complicates what Elohim promised in the spirit, Yahweh still brings his promise to fulfillment. If you belong to the woman of Revelation 12, the woman of promise, then your calling is simply this. Wait for Yeshua HaMashiach. Trust his timing. Stand apart from Babylon. Elohim's promise is always worth waiting for. This was Genesis chapter 16, verses 1 through 3, exegesis.